Hello everyone, welcome. I just wanted to have a little chat today about world building since that's something that's been on my mind a lot as I work on my current story. In the background here, I'm just drawing my main character of said story, which I will be talking about a little bit here. Um, so I just wanted to kind of have a casual talk and kind of explain my own process because really what works for me might not work for you. It really depends on what sparks your inspiration. So I'm just gonna go over some like very basics, just the beginnings of how I would go about doing this. The thing with creating a world is it sounds like this huge, like ginormous undertaking. It's crazy. Like, how could someone even do that? You're creating lore, you're creating, you know, kingdoms and governments, and you have to take into account, like, literally everything that happens in history. But it really does not need to start that way. For me, I think the best thing is just to start with a concept, be that as specific or as vague as you want it to be. I have a story, it's actually a webtoon that is up titled Blue Blood. It's on hiatus right now, but it's there. And for that story, my original idea for it was very simple. I wanted cyborg magical girls. So I set about creating a world in which I could have cyborg magical girls. That's really where it started. Just think of, whatever you want in your wildest dreams, what kind of story would exist. And this is why I normally start with my characters. They give me the most inspiration. They're the easiest for me to make. And, it's just fun creating characters. This isn't going to work for everyone. I know some people like to create a whole world and the lore, and that's what really gets them inspired. And that's great. For me, I like that too, but it comes later. I just like to, have my little guys, and then I get inspired by them, and I just want to create a world for them. I think the best example of that for my characters is the story I'm currently working on, and the gal you see in the background right now. This is Akira. She is a former Danganronpa OC. I had plenty. I had so many. That's a story for another day. I could deep dive into my old Danganronpa fanfictions. It went crazy. But I still love my characters that I made. So I decided I'm going to take not all, I had too many. I'm going to take a bunch of my old Danganronpa OCs, and I'm going to create an original world for them. So that's where I get into my biggest point when it comes to world building, when it comes to, helping you create your own ideas, is to steal. Steal like an artist, though. Don't steal one for one, but take inspiration. So obviously, for this story, I'm taking inspiration from Danganronpa because that's where it all started. So yeah, some minor spoilers, I guess, for Danganronpa series, mainly the first game. But yeah, the world of Danganronpa is set in an apocalypse, and there are robot bears that go around and kill people. It's very, very simple, but, they make it very complicated. Anyways, my story that I'm taking Akira from was based out in the world, not within a killing game. So I wanted to keep the whole, apocalyptic setting, because that's what she was made for. She was made to be, a survivor. So, yeah, what I stole from Danganronpa is a robot apocalypse. That's been done before. That's been done many times before. It's not an original idea, but no idea really is. What makes it original is what you do with it. So for me, I decided, it's not just gonna be a robot apocalypse. I need a good reason for there to be killer robots running around trying to kill everyone. Yeah, so that's where the inspiration from Danganronpa ends and the inspiration from the real world begins. And I think this is something that's, important to think about if you want to ground your story. Obviously, things can be super crazy and fantastical, but if you have an element that you can connect to real life, I feel like that just makes everyone feel more connected to your story. For me, I decided that the reason that there's, an apocalypse is going to be connected to climate change. I know that doesn't sound like it connects at first when you think about, there's killer robots running around. How does that connect to climate change? Well, the robots are trying to kill all humans to protect the environment, because humans destroy the environment. And that's what they were programmed to do. That's just the beginnings of, my lore. But I felt like, that's a good connection to, current issues, and it'll make people think. Maybe I found it interesting, I found it fun, and that's really what matters. So that is the basic concept setup. There is a robot apocalypse because the robots are trying to counter climate change, but by doing so, they are killing humanity. Once that's set up, I kind of just start asking questions. I think one of the most important parts of, making a convincing world is just thinking about how the common person would live in that world. Not the, big organizations or whatever other leading parties you have in the world you're making. Just, everyday person. If you were plopped into this world, what would your daily life look like? For mine, it doesn't look good. It looks like hiding. It looks like scrounging for survival. But there is a lot of plant life. There's a lot of plants around. You can garden. You can forage. And there are obviously groups around. People band together. So in this, apocalyptic world, there's companionship. Not for everyone, but for many people. They find other survivors, they band together, they have safety in numbers. That is where the protagonist differs, though, because Akira is alone in the beginning. And, just thinking about how that would affect a person as well. But, this isn't about character arcs and all that. That's a talk for another day. But it's something to think about. Yeah, what I look for in my world building is just a vibe. You want a vibe. What is the vibe of your world, of your story, of your lore? Is it something horror based? Is it something unsettling? Or is it something fun and goofy and, out there? Or is it just chill? Are you chilling? Are you on a farm and vibing and taking care of your animals and all that? That's a world. That's Stardew Valley has world building. Everything has world building. So it doesn't have to be this huge task. You just build upon it. I think that's the main thing that I can say, is that you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to create a solid enough foundation that when you're asked questions, you can brainstorm. You can come up with an answer. It doesn't need to be right, it can change. But if I ask you, what is the political climate of your world? You don't have to have a solid answer. It doesn't need to be set in stone. But if you have enough that you can think about it, that you can come up with something and then work on it later, that's enough to get started. If I ask you, where do people live? That should be, is simple enough to answer. You should be able to come up with something. Just, do they live in houses? Do they live in huts? Do they live in, old abandoned buildings that are covered in plants like my world? Yeah, some of the questions that are gonna help you to flesh everything out are boring, but the answers shouldn't be. Nothing in your world should be boring to you, because you're creating it. It's something special that came out of your own mind, and no one else is gonna do it exactly like you. So yeah, this is just a little chat. I know I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. I'm just, sort of getting used to this whole YouTube thing about, talking over speed paint and just trying to hang out, just trying to vibe. I'm just really passionate about, writing stories, creating characters, all of that sort of thing. So I wanted to come on here and talk about that. I think next time I'm probably going to go more in depth on my own stories, kind of share a little bit about them, because, I love my characters, and I want to share them with the world, and I want to, just hang out, just, see some like-minded people. And I want you to shoot off in the comments and tell me about, the world that you're working on. Just a little bit. Just give me your basic concept. Like mine for my webtoon is Cyborg Magical Girls. For this current story, it is, robot apocalypse with plants. So, what's yours? What is your world made of? And I think that's it today. I'm missing so much. I know I'm missing so much. There is so much to say on this topic about, creating stuff. I might make a follow-up in the future if, people are interested, if I get more ideas. I just wanted to chat. Nothing serious. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you're drawing along with me, it looks amazing. If you're gaming, you're making great progress. And, if you're just hanging out with me, I have enjoyed your company. And yeah. Think about leaving a like and maybe subscribing if you want to see what I have to say in the future. Because I do plan on making more videos. I plan on talking about my characters and, whatever else comes to mind. I just want to ramble. This is my rambly place. So, yeah. Thank you for being here. I will see you next time.